Hey, it's Michael, and today we're going to be talking about buying your first HDMI recorder between the Atomos Ninja Inferno and the Atomos Ninja 5, also sometimes looks like V, obviously. The truth of the matter is many of you, in fact most of my students, probably aren't going to need these recorders. If you're doing casual video shooting, if you're just uploading to YouTube, probably not going to need it. If you are doing any kind of color grading, or you are providing this footage to a client in a professional setting, I would say this is something you are definitely going to want to look at if you have a camera whose capabilities can be exploited with an HDMI recorder. There are a lot of cameras that came out in 2018 talking about the Fuji X-T3, the EOS R, the Nikon Z6 and Z7. Even the Sony cameras have improved color chroma subsampling when feeding out to an HDMI recorder. So when I was going through the checkout process, there were so many little accessories here and there that I just couldn't, I had to do research to figure this all out, and I'm just trying to save you guys some money. And by the way, this is a sponsored video from B&H. They sent me all the gear you see here. I am going to buy one of these recorders. I'll tell you which one at the end of the video. But because B&H has sponsored this, all of the links are in the description if you decide to buy anything, and my goal is going to be to save you between $200 to $400 sharing with you what I have learned about how to purchase this stuff. Without getting into too much of the nitty-gritty about the technical aspects of HDMI recording, some of you are going to be curious in terms of what advantages it gives you. I believe the two greatest advantages are the ProRes codec. It's going to be far nicer on your processor when you're editing it, very friendly. Obviously the file size is larger. That has to do with something called intra-frame compression versus inter-frame compression, which is what most cameras record internally. So the trade-off is larger file sizes, more computer friendly, and the frames are compressed individually. Every frame is its own frame. In inter-frame compression, there is an analysis that happens between the previous and the future frame. And so the processor has to calculate this 24 frames or 30 frames per second. It can be very processor heavy. That's why some of you upload footage to your computer and it crashes the computer. That's one of the reasons. So we get the ProRes codec, and we also have a higher quality of color. Talking about the number of colors, 10-bit is about 1 billion colors, 8-bit is about 17 million colors, and we have these three numbers, 422 versus 420. Think of that in terms of more color information in the video file that is going to give a lot more flexibility to somebody who is adding color back into it. So there's some other reasons in terms of N-log, C-log, F-log. Most of these cameras have log profiles. Really incredible that we can get them at this price. Another reason is the HDMI recorders are going to allow us to record at greater data rates. I think the X-T3 and the EOS R will both do over 400 megabits per second. And a lot of our cameras are limited to about 100 or just over 100 in camera. So depending on what camera you have, the data rate improvement is going to allow for more color information, especially when we're dealing with moving images. Far greater quality video, in my opinion. Obviously, they're both monitors. We have a 7-inch monitor versus a 5-inch monitor. And this is going to allow us to access a lot of the tools built into the monitors themselves. We're talking about vector scopes, waveform, peaking, zebras, a lot of great tools. Atom HDR to give you a preview of how it might look when it's graded. Fabulous, and I plan to use these in my teaching. So as we're looking through the camera, I can record what the overlay is giving me, and I have a professional need for this kind of a tool. So let's start talking about some of the differences and some of the things that you'll need to get set up. Again, 4K 60 frames per second, 10-bit 422 on both of these. If you need raw recording, you're going to be looking at the Shoguns, not the Ninjas. On the back, let's flip these guys over. And by the way, the Inferno has a plastic housing. It feels kind of cheap, I hate to say it. You have these nice rubberized grips in the corners. The Ninja 5 is metal, and it just feels far more solidly constructed. So as we turn these over, there are a number of accessories that you're going to have to buy in order to get these to work. They both come with direct power. There's a dedicated port on the Inferno. It works through a battery adapter on the Ninja 5. I definitely recommend getting the battery pack. You can buy it separately for $150, but if you buy it in different kits, you can save about 50 bucks on it. And that's the kit that I got from B&H had the batteries in the Ninja 5. If you get the Inferno, I'm going to tell you just to go ahead and get the accessory kit that comes with it on B&H. It includes the batteries, it includes the reader that you're going to need, it includes a hood and a case, and it's all customized already. It's a no-brainer. Get it with the case. You're going to save yourself probably about $50 to $100 if you were to get the hood. Definitely for the Inferno, take a look at that. But in order to get these to work, you are going to need a solid-state memory drive. So this is the G-Ray drive. It's the 1 terabyte, $350 to buy separately. There's some things I like about it, and there are some things I hate about it. When you plug this in, slide it in to the Inferno, it actually becomes flush. And to remove it, you got to take your fingernails on your thumbs and kind of pry it out. There's no easy way for me to grab this. So I'm not a huge fan of that, although it is metal, very well constructed. And this is referred to as a master caddy, the shape of it and the design for it to plug in. Now, having said that, and this is something I didn't know initially, was it came, the Inferno did, with this plastic case that almost looks like a space holder, right? Same problem, you got to remove them with your thumbnail. But when you open this, on the inside, you're going to see you have 4 screws there. So what's going on with this is that you can buy a solid-state hard drive separately, a 2.5-inch solid-state hard drive, put it into this caddy, and then put it in to the Inferno, format it. The reason why this is important is because the Western Digital one they recommend, 1 terabyte, is about $135. So you're literally saving $200 over the G drive if you just buy the SSD separately and put it into this master caddy. I'd rather have 2 terabyte hard drives than 1 G-RAID. That's just me. When you put it into the Ninja 5, seems tighter, right? It sticks out a little bit. And you know what? I'm absolutely fine with this. Why? Because I have something to grab onto and I can just pull it out. There is a company called Angelbird that is coming out with some smaller hard drives that don't leave it sticking out like this. And it has a handle on it. They're beautiful. They're really, really nice. I just don't think they're worth it. So in order to get this to work, we need our batteries, we need a hard drive. You're also going to need a reader. You'll notice this reader has 2 USB ports on it. So if you're using an older computer, both of these have to be plugged into the USB drive in order to power it to get your data off the memory cards. Something to keep in mind if you do not have 2 USB ports side by side, right? So they have to be close. This is $50 separately. You're going to need a way to mount these to your camera. I kind of like the Bogen Manfrotto 492 LCD. It's this little ball head, but it is built like a tank. It's very strong, it's very tough. I think this is enough to support a Ninja 5 with 1 battery and a master caddy. I do not think it's strong enough to hold 2 batteries, a master caddy, and the Inferno. It just seems too big, and if that's the case, you're probably looking at a cage for your camera, something that isn't putting all that weight on to the hot shoe. Something else you're going to notice is that both of them have full-size HDMI inputs here on the side. HDMI has 3 flavors. There's really 4, but the ones that we're familiar with are HDMI A. This is the full-size one. So these are HDMI A ports. There's an HDMI Mini, which a lot of cameras use, and there's an HDMI Macro. So you're going to have to either get a cable or an adapter to feed the HDMI out of your camera into the recorder. I like the coiled ones, and some of them will not support 4K 60 frames per second, so just read that in the specs if you're looking for 4K 60. Critical to note that if you're feeding audio into either one of these recorders, so if you want to get audio signal with your video, there's different inputs. We have our standard 3.5 millimeter 1/8 inch microphone port on the Ninja 5, and on the Inferno, we have this funky XLR mini connector thing, and it turns out that the only cable that is going to allow you to feed audio into it is called an XLR breakout cable made by Atomos. It's $200, so this is going to add some significant cost. And you can also see that the way it's built, obviously it's pretty sturdy. It's a metal adapter port. is I have some serious doubts in terms of how strong this is, in terms of, if you bump it or something, makes me a little bit nervous. So if you want audio recorded with your HDMI video, that's another consideration. Speaking of audio, both of these units get warm. They have fans that kick on. The fan is audible. So if you're recording audio very close to the monitor, I think it's going to be a problem. If you're using like an onboard microphone or something. Lav mics, I don't think they're going to be a problem. Or if you get some distance between the recorder and the microphone that you're using, I think you'll probably be okay. But just know that I don't think you could use an onboard microphone next to the recorder and get good audio. Definitely something to consider. When we're talking about the brightness, the Inferno is 1500 nits versus 1000 nits, but the truth of the matter is both of these work great outdoors. There is hoods you can buy. I think a screen protector is also a probably good investment because you're gonna be touching the screen a lot to operate the controls. In order to get the Inferno set up, you're probably looking at closer to $1,600 or $1,700 minimum to get set up shooting on this if you're getting a cage and all this, the accessory kit and the hard drive. With the Ninja 5, I think you can do it for about $1,000, and to me, that's just a spectacular deal. That's the one I'm going with. I'm going to buy this one from B&H. Sometimes that happens. They send me gear to test out, and I'm so impressed with it, I just end up buying it. I would love to know what questions you guys have about HDMI recorders. If you're just getting started, leave those questions in the comments. Thank you to B&H for providing the gear that allows me to make these videos in terms of which ones to buy and how to get set up. Definitely consider going with creating your own SSD drives. With these master caddies, you're going to save yourself hundreds of dollars each time you do it. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next time.